We are particularly pleased to be here in the Alþingi, in the committee room, with some very distinguished parliamentarians, some very distinguished diplomats from across the Arctic and Nordic regions and from observer states, and with some of the world's leading Arctic researchers, industry representatives, government officials from all across, countries that are within the region but also countries that have an interest in the region. And I'm also very happy that we've come together to talk about a subject that is of great importance to the region as a whole, to focus on the tourism sector, which at the same time is a source of great opportunity to local economies, but also presents various sets of challenges, as we have discussed over 5 days of a workshop.
This workshop we are having this week is actually the second in a series of workshops. We were thinking about tourism in general, and many of the concepts that have been developed for tourism do not seem to easily fit to areas like this, the Arctic.
Iceland has made a big transition from fishing to tourism. It's still a fishing nation, but Iceland as a country used tourism as a strategy to get out of the financial crisis in 2009, and people came. And maybe too many people came for the level of infrastructure that was there.
Iceland is a great example of how the number of tourists coming into the country in a year far surpasses the population of the whole country. So sustainability and how do we benefit from tourism while respecting places and peoples, the communities that inhabit the places tourists visit. These things are going to be really important to address.
We as academics, we are very often working with other academics. Since we are trying to study developments in tourism, we also need different perspectives, and that's something that's actually very well fitting to the tourism industry as such, since it's an industry where you always have a lot of collaboration between different parties.
The purpose of the workshop is to do exactly that. It brings together representatives from various stakeholder communities, various sectors, from academia, from policy, from industry, brings together philanthropy, and by bringing them together and allowing them to travel, be on the road together while experiencing the region they're talking about and meeting policymakers on the ground, meeting community leaders on the ground, meeting entrepreneurs on the ground. This is fundamentally important. That's why we want to engage at the very end with Parliament as well, by taking the meeting to the Icelandic Parliament. Again, we want to know what's happening at the highest level of this country's democracy. How are decisions being made? How can policymakers gain these, build bridges between policy decision makers and the finest minds in academia and really key voices in industry?
My name is Keith Sproul, and I'm the Executive Director of Abercrombie & Kent Philanthropy, which is the charitable arm of Abercrombie & Kent, the luxury tour operator. I love going into these smaller destinations like Húsavík here in Iceland and having an opportunity to speak with actors in that pipeline of the tourism experience and discuss, what their approach to sustainability is and how we might be able to build bridges coming from the private sector.
My name's Nathan Regner. I'm here in Iceland as a Fulbright scholar, funded by the Icelandic Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the National Science Foundation's Arctic Research Program. And I am a social scientist. I specialize in parks and protected areas, heritage areas, and understanding how visitors and tourists use these places and how to protect the special qualities of these places so that they can provide exceptional experiences and continue to sustain the heritage values into the future.
My name is Anne-Tamara. I work at Visit Faroe Islands, which is the national body, you could say, for tourism in the Faroe Islands. To be with researchers at such high level and industry people with such good knowledge is very rewarding for me, yes.
Wow.
Before the cruise ship came in, we had all these statistics about this is how much, on average, is going to result in economic benefits to the community.
You have to engage much, I think it's a couple of years earlier before you get your product.
But it's such a different, like the booking excursions and having multiple excursions, that is so far removed from Húsavík in the Northwest Territories where the Crystal Serenity went. Like there's 400 people in that community, and who should you talk to?
But they had the capacity to sit across from all these ships that are coming in and their operators and say, we want to hear about your policies for giving back.
Who gets the benefits that are coming from your land and your culture could be tied in much more supportively. There's some economies of scope there in terms of helping communities build that knowledge.
Straight away, we've got some great behaviours. People are throwing really interesting and in some instances quite controversial concepts into the group, and they're being well received and respected. And I think that's a really important and healthy set of behaviours that are happening here. We've got a diversity of opinion, we've got a diversity of perspectives, we have a diversity of knowledge and depth of expertise, and the fusion of all of that is creating a really balanced set of arguments. And what's great also is the way in which the workshop's been facilitated. So we've travelled around Iceland, we've seen different parts, we've engaged with members of the local community, and we've had a really clever balance of local insight and opportunity to reflect and debate as a team. So I think the product of the week will be quite powerful.
We're halfway through in a sense, and I'm looking forward to what I'll manage to distill from it, and what I'm brewing now, I'm trying to sort of consolidate from our discussions some key sentences or key points that we can hopefully deliver to the Environmental and Transport Committee of the Parliament, which is responsible for tourism issues in this country, who we will be meeting at the sort of end of all of this. I have a few points already, promising leads, promising points, and yeah, so I'm quite excited about what I hopefully will be able to deliver with the group, not myself of course, but with the group at the end point on Friday afternoon.
I was convinced that it was a success by last night, in fact. So all the discussions that we had within the group was very fruitful. Talking to those people in the north on our journey was very fruitful. But then this debate we just had this afternoon was just adding one more level to it, I would say. Also in many different ways, enriching our discussion, but also assuring us that we are looking into the things that really matter for people who are working with these things on a day-to-day basis.
This is going to be not the end of our 5-day workshop, it is the beginning of an important dialogue that will be carried on by these different stakeholder groups we have brought together. This is really important, and we need to work together to make sustainable development reality and not just leave it in the realm of rhetoric. Policymakers around the world, around the Arctic in particular, and the Nordic regions, are more than welcome to get in touch with us, ask us more about the project, find out how we can work together. How can we support you? We've got the best researchers, we've got the best industry professionals and consultants. What can we do together to make sure tourism development in the Arctic, which is absolutely important, also happens on a very sustainable basis?